Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Wrestling with Things. We wrestle with all sorts of things in sports and entertainment. And now, here are your hosts, David and Sammy Joseph.
All right, the latest monster trade that shook up the NBA. Some may think that it didn't shake up the NBA, but it involved two stars, so I think it was a pretty big deal. John Wall is heading to the Houston Rockets, being traded for Russell Westbrook, who is heading to the Eastern Conference. So now maybe we should call him Russell Eastbrook. So, Sammy, let me know your thoughts on this trade. What are your thoughts on this trade? And how do you think it'll impact each team and each star individually?
Well, I think for Wall, it's a put up or shut up year, because if he doesn't come back strong, especially after now getting traded and coming off of two injuries, if he doesn't at least give that 20 and 10 that we were seeing before, it's not going to look good for his value. It's not going to look good for his legacy. It's not going to look good in any type of way, because James Harden's not going to last in Houston now that he's over there, because that's not enough for him to get a championship, and he knows that, and that's why he's done with them. But for Westbrook, I think this is great. It's a check on all boxes of the category. Do you have the room to be yourself? Check. You know what I mean? Can you still put up your numbers? Check. Are you gonna make the playoffs? Check. You got a star with you? Check. It's fabulous for Westbrook, man, because it's like, dude, I'm winning in each category. Yeah, I might not get a championship, but I could still be me, and I could still stat pad, and I could still make my all-time numbers look good. So I think it's just more of a negative on Wall's part.
Yeah, I think you laid it out brilliantly, man, especially the checklist, because I imagine that's the checklist Russell Westbrook has in his head. He wants his numbers. He wants to be able to look dominant. I think people are going too hard on him when they say he's a bad teammate. Is he a teammate that plays hard but doesn't play smart? I think that's the case. He doesn't know how to play smart, but I don't think Russ is a bad teammate at all. I agree with you on the checklist 100%, and I also think that Washington wins the trade. I mean, for the most part, these guys have some similarities. They're both, a little bit of bigger guards that rely on athleticism. But for all the criticism Russell Westbrook has, and even though he's in his early 30s, he hasn't declined as an individual yet. He's still a little bit in his prime, whereas Wall probably isn't anymore. We haven't seen him in about 2 years, and he relies on athleticism, if not more than Russell Westbrook, because he might be one of the few guys who's a worse shooter than Westbrook. So he really relies on that speed and athleticism, and I don't want to write him out, but it's not looking promising. And until we see it, it's one of those you got to see it to believe it things. I think we just got to give him the benefit of the doubt and see how it goes the first good handful of 20 to 30 games and see how he looks. But it's really hard to be like, I'm optimistic that John Wall will even be, 80% of himself, because as you mentioned, he was a solid 20 and 10 assist guy, or 18 and 10 guy. Now I can't help but wonder, is playing with James Harden, just playing with James Harden in general, never mind the fact about the injuries, now he's probably going to be a 15 and 6 guy. I just wonder, how much does that help the Rockets, and what made them do it so much? I don't understand on that end, but apparently James Harden, preferred to play with John Wall. What do you think about that aspect of it?
Oh, I actually didn't hear about that. I'm actually shocked that you even just said that to me. He rather play with John Wall. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, according to Woj, he said that it was essentially laid out at this point. Do you prefer Wall to come in? And he approved the trade. And it's being said that he preferred to play Wall over Westbrook if it came down to it. I don't understand that because, again, as flawed as Westbrook is, he's better than John Wall in mostly every way. But I will say this. John Wall's always been better than Russell Westbrook defensively, and he has been a more natural facilitator. So it might help some percentage there, but I don't think it makes the Houston Rockets better at all. I think it keeps them in the same place.
Well, maybe they know something that we don't.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Maybe they seen him. Maybe they seen him play. Maybe they seen him, actually do certain things that he couldn't do before. Because I also seen an interview with him on the All the Smoke podcast with Steven and Matt, and he said he was actually gonna play his best basketball because he was playing with a really, really bad, something bad in his knee area that he surgically took out. And he said he feels like he's less limited now. So maybe they just seen it, the springs in his legs. Maybe they seen him do drills. I don't know. You know how these, guys like to play with each other in certain courts and certain leagues and stuff like that. So maybe that happened. But I'm actually shocked that you just laid that on me because, like you said, Westbrook at the end of the day, in terms of production, in terms of what you're going to get, I think he still can give you a little more than Wall, even if Wall's 100% healthy.
Yeah. Even he was already better than him. And I think with everything John Wall's went through, Russell Westbrook's definitely the better player. So I was surprised by the reports that James Harden preferred him. But if he could be anything like themselves, it makes them a little better defensively, like I said, because John Wall always brought the effort there. And I do think John Wall does have like that Rondo in him where he likes to set up teammates. And that's probably the only reason James Harden wanted to play with him. It's not because he's better. It's because James Harden's so greedy to keep chucking up his isolation shots. And he knows that Westbrook was going to want his more. So he's John over. I'll take John. I'll settle for John now. But that's just my opinion. But you know what? They've done some question mark moves, but, the upside to it working out is a long shot, but they have some things that could help them out. I mean, I like the Christian Wood signing a lot. The casual NBA fan doesn't know him, but he was on the Pistons, and he's 25 years old, and he's a 6'10" stretch 4. He could play small ball 5. And they got DeMarcus Cousins. So they got some interesting pieces, even though it feels like Harden has one foot out the door. I think they're interesting.
At least they got size again. That's one thing I can give them. At least they fixed the size problem, but and they still have PJ and they still got Eric Gordon. So it should still be a playoff team. You know what I mean?
I'm still hesitant, but maybe a bottom.
No. I think it should still be. If Wall could at least give all-star level, it should still be a playoff team. Because they don't really need a whole lot from the other guys. Because Harden's going to, in the regular season, how Harden is. He's going to give you that 30-something a game. So if they can just get an all-star feel from John Wall, I could see them at a 7, maybe an 8 seed.
That's fair. That's definitely fair because the role players aren't bad role players over there for overall. So, and I actually think for what they're asking them to do, I'm more confident in Boogie being able to play his role than Wall being able to get back to all-star status. I think because of size and versatility, he gives them something different that they never had with Dwight Howard, that they never have with Clint Capella. I think they have a chance to, if they use him right and he stays healthy, they can have something a little bit different there. Because speaking of workouts, apparently he blew them away in workouts and drills for the Rockets. So he might be fresher than we think. But I want to end with this. You got Russell Westbrook. You got Bradley Beal. the Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson isn't going to be there. But you do got Devin Booker and CP3. You got Drew Holiday and essentially Middleton. Who would you say would likely be the best backcourt since the Splash Brothers aren't going to be here?
I would say Kyrie and Durant. If we're gonna count that.
I mean, yeah, you could count that. I was thinking more point guard, shooting guard tandems.
Okay,
I'm bad if someone counts that because Durant plays like a guard.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. That's what I mean. He's gonna be mostly on the perimeter with them. So, but if you're gonna go with that, then I think they are. Then I agree. I think they are. They might even be number one this season.
Over CP3 Book? I think they're promising.
Yes.
I'm hesitant, man. It's gonna be good to watch them.
Yes, I think Westbrook and Bale will probably be number one this season because it's gonna be just them, having the keys to do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? Like I expect to really see maybe almost 30 from Bale, almost 30 from Westbrook. I really do. I think that's the type of basketball we're gonna see, man. That's gonna be and they're probably gonna be in the upper, probably fourth seed.
It's possible because the good thing about them, I think, unlike Westbrook, when he played with Melo and Paul George recently, and unlike him playing with Harden, I think him and Beal's styles fit. Westbrook gets all the attention, diving to the basket and pulling up from mid-range, and he's surrounded by a dead-eye shooter like Bradley Beal, and he's surrounded by another, one of the best shooters in the league on the low, Davis Bertans, that they took from my Spurs, and Mo Wagner. And you got a few young players like Hachimura, yeah. I think he got a lot of upside. So the team itself isn't horrible.
It's not. Especially for East standards. Especially for East standards.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at it. You got to look at it with East standards.
In East standards, when you got two dynamic guys like that, man, like I think they can be in the upper pack. So I got them number one backcourt. If we're gonna just go guards,
it's very much possible. I ain't mad at that. I definitely see them top two if anything, but I'm keeping an eye on CP3 and Booker. But statistically, I'm willing to bet on them that they'll definitely be the most statistically dominant.
For sure.
All right, don't forget to like us on Facebook at Wrestling with Things and subscribe to us on YouTube at Wrestling with Things.